The village of Eldermist was a place of quiet beauty nestled between dense forests and the shimmering river of forbidden memories. The river was both a blessing and a curse, its waters said to erase the deepest sorrows of those who drank from it. But the coast was steep, memories, both painful and precious, would vanish forever. Elara, a young woman with auburn hair and stormy grey eyes, stood at the river's edge, her heart heavy with betrayal. Kael, the man she had loved more than life itself, had vanished without a word, leaving her to drown in her grief. The pain was unbearable, and the river's whispers called to her, promising relief. With trembling hands, she cupped the cold water and drank, feeling the memories of Kael's touch, his laughter, and his promises slip away like sand through her fingers. Days later, Elara woke in her cottage, feeling lighter but with a strange emptiness. She no longer remembered Kael, but fragments of his face haunted her dreams. One evening, while gathering herbs in the forest, she encountered Finn, a mysterious traveler with piercing green eyes and a smile that felt both familiar and foreign. There was an instant connection between them, but Elara sensed something familiar about him that she couldn't place. Finn offered to help her with her herbs, and as they walked back to the village, he subtly probed her about her past. Elara felt a mix of comfort and unease, unaware that Finn was hiding a secret. Finn settled in the village, claiming he was searching for a rare flower that only grew near the river. He spent more time with Elara, and their bond deepened. One night, under the light of the full moon, Finn told her a story about a man who lost the love of his life due to a terrible mistake. Elara felt a pang of sadness, though she didn't understand why. Meanwhile, Kael, who had been watching from the shadows, struggled with guilt. He had left Elara to protect her from a dangerous secret, but now he regretted his decision. Determined to win her back, he devised a plan to make her remember. One evening, as Elara and Finn sat by the river, Kael revealed himself, claiming he was an old friend. Elara felt a strange pull toward him but couldn't recall their relationship. Finn, sensing danger, tried to keep them apart. Tensions rose as Kael and Finn clashed, each vying for Elara's trust. Elara was torn between the comfort Finn provided and the inexplicable connection she felt with Kael. Meanwhile, Kael discovered that Finn was not who he claimed to be. He was a wanderer cast by the river, doomed to forget his own identity every time he drank from it. Kael realized that Finn's growing feelings for Elara were genuine, complicating his plan. Elara found a locket hidden in her cottage, containing a portrait of her and Kael. The sight triggered a flood of memories, and she confronted Kael, demanding answers. He confessed that he had left her to protect her from a rival who sought to destroy their village. Elara was furious but also relieved to finally understand. Finn, feeling betrayed, retreated to the river, contemplating drinking from it to forget his pain. Elara, torn between her past and present, had to decide whether to forgive Kael or embrace the new love she had found with Finn. Elara sought guidance from the village elder, who told her about the river's origins. Long ago, a scorned lover cursed the river to erase memories, hoping to spare others the pain of betrayal. The elder warned that the curse was tied to the village's fate and that tampering with it could have dire consequences. Elara realized that her actions had consequences not just for her but for the entire village. She resolved to break the curse, even if it meant sacrificing her own happiness. Elara, Kael, and Finn set out on a journey to find the source of the river's curse. Along the way, they encountered trials that tested their trust and loyalty. Elara began to see the good in both men, but she also uncovered more secrets. Finn confessed that he had been drawn to the river for years, searching for a way to break his own curse. Kael, meanwhile, struggled with his guilt, fearing that Elara would never fully forgive him. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the air grew colder, and the trees taller and more menacing. The path was narrow and overgrown, the shadows thick and impenetrable. Elara felt a sense of unease, the feeling that they were being watched. Finn walked ahead of her, his movements confident and sure, but she noticed the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes darted around as though expecting an attack. She wanted to ask him what he was hiding, but she feared the answer. Instead, she focused on the task at hand, her mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. After hours of walking, they reached a clearing, the river flowing through it like a silver ribbon. The water was calm, its surface reflecting the pale light of the moon. But there was something off about it, something that made Elara's skin crawl. She knelt by the water's edge, her hand hovering above the surface. "This is it," Finn said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The source of the curse." Elara felt a surge of fear, but also a sense of determination. She knew what she had to do, but she also knew it wouldn't be easy. The curse was powerful, and breaking it would require a sacrifice, one she wasn't sure she was willing to make. The spirit of the scorned lover appeared as a shimmering figure, her form shifting and twisting like the river's currents. Her eyes burned with a cold, unyielding light, and her voice echoed with the pain of centuries. "You dare to seek the source of my curse," she hissed, her gaze piercing through Elara like a blade. "You, who have tasted the river's power and sought to forget your pain. What makes you think you can undo what I have wrought?" Elara stood her ground, her heart pounding but her resolve unwavering. "I didn't understand the cost," she said, her voice steady. "But I do now. And I am willing to do whatever it takes to break the curse." The spirit's laughter was bitter, filled with the weight of her sorrow. "The curse cannot be broken without a sacrifice," she said. "One of you must give up your memories forever, to take the place of those who have forgotten. Only then will the river be free of its burden." Elara felt a chill run down her spine. She had already lost so much, her memories of Kael, her sense of self, but the thought of losing even more was unbearable. She glanced at Finn, who stood beside her, his expression grim. "I'll do it," he said, his voice firm. "I've lived with this curse long enough. If this is the only way to break it, then I'll make the sacrifice." Elara's heart ached at his words, a mixture of gratitude and sorrow filling her chest. She didn't want to lose Finn, but she also knew that his offer was the only way to save the village. She reached out to him, her hand trembling as she placed it on his arm. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. Finn smiled, a sad, bittersweet expression that made her heart ache even more. "It's the least I can do," he said. "For you, and for the village." With that, he stepped forward, his gaze locked on the spirit. "I'm ready," he said, his voice steady. The spirit nodded, her expression unreadable. "Then let it be done." The moment Finn drank from the river, the air around them seemed to shift, the oppressive weight of the curse lifting like a fog. The spirit's form shimmered and faded, her voice echoing one last time. "The curse is broken," she said, her tone filled with a strange mix of relief and sorrow. "But remember, the river's power is not to be trifled with. Use it wisely." With that, she was gone, leaving Elara and Kael alone by the river's edge. Finn swayed slightly, his eyes clouded and distant. Elara rushed to his side, her heart pounding with fear. "Finn," she said, her voice trembling. "Are you okay?" He blinked, his gaze slowly focusing on her. "Elara," he said, his voice soft and uncertain. Who are you?" Her heart shattered at his words, the realization of what he had sacrificed hitting her like a blow. He had given up his memories, his very sense of self, to break the curse. She felt a surge of guilt and sorrow, but also a deep sense of gratitude. "I'm a friend," she said, her voice breaking. "And I'll help you remember." Finn smiled, a faint, confused expression that made her heart ache. "Thank you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. As they made their way back to the village, Elara felt a sense of hope, a glimmer of light in the darkness. The curse was broken, and the village was safe. But the cost had been high, and she knew that things would never be the same. She also knew that she had a choice to make between the love she had lost and the love she had found. As they reached the edge of the forest, she saw Kael waiting for her, his expression filled with a mixture of hope and fear. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding as she prepared to face the future, whatever it might hold. The first test of their new role came on a cold, moonless night. Elara was awakened by a strange sensation, a pull that drew her to the river. She dressed quickly and made her way to the water's edge, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. Kael and Finn were already there, their expressions filled with a mixture of concern and resolve. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice trembling. Kael shook his head, his gaze fixed on the water. "I don't know," he said. "But something's wrong." As they stood by the river, the water began to churn, its surface rippling with an eerie light. The spirit's voice echoed in their minds, filled with a sense of urgency. "The river's power is being tested," she said. "You must protect it, or the curse will return." Elara felt a surge of panic, but she also felt a glimmer of hope. They had trained for this, and they were ready. She turned to Kael and Finn, her expression filled with determination. "We have to do this," she said. "Together." As they stepped into the water, the river's power surged around them, a force that was both exhilarating and terrifying. They could feel the curse trying to break free, its dark energy clawing at the edges of their control. But they also felt the strength of their bond, the connection that had grown between them. They worked together, their combined power pushing back against the curse, sealing it once more. As the water calmed, they stepped out of the river, their bodies trembling with exhaustion but their spirits filled with a sense of triumph. Elara, Kael, and Finn stood by the river, their bond stronger than ever. They made a promise to each other, to the village, and to the river, to protect what they've built, no matter the cost. The spirit's voice echoed one last time, "Your promises are binding, and they will guide you through the challenges ahead." Elara, Kael, and Finn prepare to face the future, their love and determination guiding them. The village thrives under the Guardian's protection, the river's power a source of hope and healing. Elara, Kael, and Finn grow older, their faces lined with the marks of time and experience. But their bond remains strong, their love and determination guiding them through the challenges they face. They reflect on the sacrifices they've made and the love that brought them together, knowing that their journey is far from over. I hope you enjoyed this story. Do well to like, comment, share, and subscribe.